one of my fellow content creators put out a video that popped off about a month ago. And he actually asked me to watch it. I said that I would on stream, and I never did. So we're going to watch it today on stream. I have not watched this video. He has the same mic as me. His name is Scorpius. He's a Path of Exile 2 content creator. I think he's doing some Path of Exile 1 stuff too this league. Playing it for the first time, maybe. He made a video that popped off, 59,000 views, called Why Players Are Quitting PoE 2 So Fast. Now, I read this and I feel like the video is not... I read this and I think, well, people are quitting PoE 2 so fast because it's a seasonal game. They play it a lot for 2 weeks. They bounce. They come back for the next league. There's a bunch of performance issues. A lot of people are waiting for 1.0. They've tried the game. They'll come back for 1.0 and hopefully not only the performance issues are fixed, but the game is also in a better state and everything. But based on the messages that I've read about this video, I don't think that's what the video says. So I'm going to watch it here on stream. We're going to do a little bit of a react. That's it. So I'm going to see what he says. I'll pause. I'll give my opinions on it. Feel free to leave yours too, in the comments or in stream chat, guys. I will adjust the volume to make sure it's not crazy. And we'll go. All right. It's not fun. Okay. Well, that could be a reason, pow pow. That could be a reason. All right. Let's do it. You like his Lich build? Yeah, he's put out a lot of like good guides for PoE 2. Okay, here we go.
We can all agree that Path of Exile 2 is in a much better state now than it ever was in point 1, point 2, and even point 3. Each league has brought something meaningful to the game. Point 1 was...
Except combat. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Sorry, I'm sorry.
...was a foundation, early access, core systems, and honestly one of the strongest league launches we've ever had for a new ARPG. Point 2 introduced new mechanics and a new class, and while it didn't hit the same hype as Point 1, it clearly helped GOG learn from their mistakes and see what worked and what didn't. Then Point 3 landed, which was a huge step forward and a massive league launch. And with Point 4, despite the lack of endgame changes they promised between the Temple and the Druid, we probably have the best build diversity PoE 2 has ever seen. Now, with almost 3,000 hours played in PoE 2 so far, I want...
Holy crap, dude. All right, yeah, I'm a casual, guys. I think I have 300 hours. That's crazy. That's the craziest thing I've seen in the video so far.
To make this video to share my concern, my feedback, and what I personally believe is the biggest problem the game currently has. More importantly, I want this to start a discussion. You don't have to agree with me, you just need to be open to different perspectives because everyone plays this game differently. And I generally love to read your thoughts in the comments down below. So, in my personal opinion, the biggest problem PoE 2 has right now is player retention.
I totally disagree, brother. No. Okay. Ooh, no, that is not the direction I thought the video was going to go. I think the biggest problem Path of Exile 2 has right now is performance and optimization. I think that is the biggest problem it has as an actual game. The next biggest problem is lack of basically classes and player options in the game. I don't think it's player retention, and Writing Your Games has said they don't give a crap about player retention, especially now. So let's see what he says here, because their entire, we have to remember, guys, their model. Okay, there is a video by Chris Wilson at GDC 2018 called "Designing Path of Exile to be Played Forever," and their entire design philosophy is burning players out and getting them to come back every 3 or 4 months. So I don't, okay, unless like, okay, so I don't know, maybe he's going to go with exactly what I'm saying. Maybe he's going to be like, all right, there's a player retention problem because there's performance issues, because there's a lack of visual clarity, because it's very similar to Path of Exile 1 and people are bouncing between the games and getting burnt out faster. Da, da, da. Maybe that's the direction it goes, but I initially disagree with you, Scorpius. Let's see where you go.
4-month league cycles and still not enough long-term depth or content, most players hit a wall after about 3 to 5 weeks. Not because the league is bad, but because there simply isn't enough to keep them engaged yet. At that point, players start looking elsewhere. Some switch to hardcore, some join
I think that's fine. I think it's the design of the game.
private leagues for a reset, many just move on to another game or quit altogether. And the reason I think this is such a serious issue is because it's not actually easily fixed. Of course, we can sit all day and speak about other in-game issues like patch problems, balance issues, bug fixes, and of course some core mechanics and
Oh, brother, no, I totally disagree with you, my man. Oh, Scorpius, I totally disagree. Uh-oh, antagonistic react? I don't think it's an issue at all. Holy crap. Here we go, Scorp.
content that is missing or needs fixing. For example, Wisps feel slow, underwhelming, and often pointless. They likely need a full reevaluation, maybe even removal and reintroduction later on.
Okay.
Rogue Exiles are another case. There's so much great design work there, but most of the times they barely exist unless you heavily
Okay, I agree.
Endgame progression still needs major work, repetitive maps, towers feeling useless, league mechanics overshadowing mapping, low difficulty ceiling,
Okay, I'm agreeing with a lot of the stuff here. I disagree with this. Not that. Where is it? He was saying league mechanics overshadowing maps. Totally should in some scenarios. I love that. I want league mechanics to overshadow maps in some ways. I think everything should fulfill different niches. I think that's one of the really cool things about PoE 2, and I hope that design stays. I really do. I hope if Temple stays, Temple becomes the go-to place for corruption and editing your items past their, past them being corrupted or whatever. And just like Abyss is the go-to place for that, deterministic final crafting set of stuff like that. I really like that. Anyway.
Overwhelming loot, insignificant biomes, non-existent citadels, the list goes on. And then we have things like item rarity issues, server problems, long-standing boss bugs like the Titan Grodon since 0.1, strong box bugs since 0.2, poor UI or UX decisions like the temple layout, no colorblind options, lack of hybrid control support, and many more. But here's the thing, none of these issues are my main concern.
I do not know where this... I don't know where you're going, brother. Okay.
That's what early access is for. Those problems will eventually get fixed.
Agree.
And oftentimes, they'll simply get fixed by a single patch or a new league update.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on new classes, new weapons, new...
Oh, God, I hate this so much. Please remove this from PoE 2. Oh, God.
ascendancies, new trials, acts, new mechanics, and all of that simply takes time. And honestly, GG has done an amazing job so far. If you look at the progress since 0.1, we've already gotten new crafting systems, a new act, multiple classes and ascendancies, new endgame mechanics, mini mechanics like Rogue Exiles and Wisps, even though they're not that great, tons of quality of life changes, better balance, and better performance. Real, measurable progress. So,
okay, I think we agree. I'm very confused where this is going to go, because we agree those are all problems. They'll get fixed, and that'll make players play the game more and for longer. I'm very. This is a 16-minute video. Here we go. Yeah, the UI UX isn't going to get better. What's going on, Hungstark, bro?
I'm not really worried about what hasn't arrived yet. Swords are gonna come, new trials are gonna come, new acts will come, and we'll play them, and then move on to the next shiny thing. Early access or full release doesn't matter much to me, because sometimes PoE 2 already feels like a finished game, and we're barely scratching the surface of its true potential. So let's go back to the retention problem. To understand why retention breaks down the way that it does, I think we need to look at the different types of players PoE 2 has right now. I'm going to split this into 5 broad categories. And just to be clear, none of these categories are bad. Every group is important, and every group keeps the game healthy in their own different way. First category, we have the min-maxers. No matter what GG releases, good, bad, broken, balanced, these players will play the absolute life out of the league. They're the players racing to be first to level 100, first mirror tier drop, first to crack the best farming method, first to dominate the market. And because they have insane hours and knowledge in the game, they're usually also the first ones to find endgame exploits, discover busted crafting interactions, or optimize farming routes that most players won't even notice until 2 weeks later. These guys are in the minority of players, but they shape keep the league economy early and heavily. Second category, we have the
Okay, and this is all going to tie back to retention. Okay.
hardcore folks. They absolutely care about new classes and mechanics, but their relationship with the game is totally different. They don't usually chase currency or try to keep up with the economy at all. So when inflation happens or when an exploit spikes the market, it doesn't really affect them. Their goal is simply to stay alive, push as far as possible, craft their own gear, and eventually beat the hardest content they can without dying. This group is also a minority, but they're incredibly consistent. They'll play league after league because the mode itself creates a challenge and replayability.
Minority. I think that's most of the players. They care about new content. Check. They don't chase currency or keep up with the economy. Check. Inflation doesn't. I think that's most players, honestly. I think that's most players. And I don't know. Like, the only retention issues that have really happened with PoE 2 so far, in my opinion, had to do with the temple at the beginning of Fate of the Val. I think that's when retention is a problem, honestly. That, and we're not talking about PoE 1 in this video, but like that's when retention is a problem. When you see like that huge drop off and it was like due to the temple and what was going on. I think that is something that you can take from retention, but I'm very curious to see the overall argument here. Hardcore is Giga mode. Well, I don't think he's talking about hardcore the game mode. But Ronnie, I think he's calling this like a segment of the player base. I don't think, yeah, that player base is highest in softcore, but I don't think he's calling these like hardcore player. He is? Oh, I'm an idiot. Don't pay any mind to me. I'm just yapping. Okay, oops. I thought he meant. He's playing about hardcore mode. Definitely a minority. Okay. All right. No, you guys are right. Okay.
They'll play league after league because the mode itself creates a challenge and replayability. Third, we have new players and super casuals. And after a year of PoE 2, I actually think this group is smaller than people assume. I'm talking about super casuals here. These players either have very limited time each week or are still learning the game and systems. They usually rely heavily on guides, and it can take them most of the league to just reach a comfortable endgame state, if that. Most of them don't have the time, knowledge, or consistency to interact properly with the economy. They might barely see divines at all, and they aren't crafting their own gear because they simply don't know how to. So when they see someone sitting on 1,000 divines or a simple item that they need priced at tens or hundreds of divines, it's demotivating. It makes them feel like they're permanently behind, even if they're playing normally. Category 4.
He's talking about me. Oh my god. But I see divines. Okay, this is a little hyperbolic, but this is I don't rely on guides. No, this isn't me. This isn't me. I don't rely on guides. But like kind of is talking to me here. Let's see what he says for the fourth category. Okay.
Them feel majority of players, and it's a wide range. This includes semi-casual players who still put in solid hours every week, all the way up to people who work from home and can play double or triple that time. It also
what? Remote work play? Do you guys actually play video games while working remote? There's no way. There's no way. No, you freaking, oh, you dirty people, you dirty people. Oh, okay. I have taken a lunch break before and played. So, I mean, but I don't like double or triple the hours remote work players. I've never heard that term before, but it's a great, okay. We got a lot of yeses in the chat. Super casuals don't do 36 challenges in PoE 1 there. In PoE 2, you'll be back to a top 1% player. You are 100% right, dude. I'm the guy that Scorpius, I think, is talking about, because I freaking played PoE 1 for 2 weeks. No, I played for 13 days and I was done. 35 hours and done. I don't know if I'll do that with PoE 2 because I like the gameplay of PoE 2, but if it keeps going in the PoE 1 direction, that will be me. Okay, but I really think, before we go to the everyone else, I think number 3 is the biggest category so far, by far. I think he said this is much smaller than we think. I wonder if he'll say why. Okay, everyone else.
Permanently behind, even if they're playing normally. Category 4 is the majority of players, and it's a wide range. This includes semi-casual players who still put in solid hours every week, all the way up to people who work from home and can play double or triple that time. It also includes a lot of streamers, content creators, and players who've played consistently since point one. These guys usually keep up with patch notes, watch multiple streamers, are plugged into YouTube Shorts, TikTok PoE2 clips constantly, understand meta shifts quickly, and have enough knowledge to craft, adapt builds, or copy a build and tweak it for themselves. Even if
this is too wide a category. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, that's very general.
they're not all elite players, they're fully engaged players. This is also the category with the most FOMO. They constantly look for best meta builds, best farming techs, best divine per hour, constant comparison of currency and progress, and because of that, this category gets hit hardest by economy shifts, sudden exploitations, and any league that feels solved too early. Which means that they are also the first ones to jump into new private leagues, chase resets, and burn out when there's nothing left to chase. But here's the important part about this category. These guys are also a major source of feedback. They demand the most from GG, but they also often provide the most accurate, practical feedback because they interact with the game at scale. And the fifth category is everyone in the other four groups who also plays PoE1. This group is not the minority, and they're definitely not the majority. And they're extremely important for retention. Some of them main PoE2 and play PoE1 when they get bored. Some of them are PoE1 veterans who treat PoE2 as a side game. And some of them genuinely balance both games depending on which league is active.
Okay, that's a good look at that. Look at that. This is PoE2 in 2 years, guys. Path of Exile 1.5. Oh no.
Content creators fall into this category too. Sometimes for enjoyment, sometimes for monetization, sometimes both. And the big impact this category has is very simple. Even if PoE2's league is amazing, these players are still likely to leave when a new PoE1 league drops or PoE1 event starts. So their mindset becomes finish PoE2 league as fast as possible before PoE1 starts. That overlap matters a lot because it naturally shortens PoE2's active population even when PoE2 itself is doing really well. So yeah, I
think a lot of the players, you talked about this earlier, but most people, the retention problem that he points out, I don't think it's a big problem, but his problem, it's like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and most people have moved on. I think because it's the way the game is designed. PoE1 leagues come out 2 months after, 2.5 months after. I think it's going to be every 2 months from now on. I don't think it actually is that big of a problem. And I don't think PoE1 players contribute much to the retention problem for. Yeah, I think what Scorpius is going to is, I think you're right. That's Loco. I think that's exactly what Scorpius is going to talk about here. Dude talks as though you're supposed to play PoE2 as your only game for 3 to 4 months at a time. I think that's what he's going to kind of pitch here. He's going to kind of say, okay, it needs consistent player numbers. Never going to happen for an ARPG. This is not an MMORPG where you're paying a subscription fee and there are holiday events and there's like raids that you do weekly. There aren't dailies that you do. This isn't a competitive game like Deadlock or Dota 2 where you're constantly grinding for MMR. This is a game that is mostly solo with a market in which you can set up your own goals. There's no dailies, weeklies, monthlies, whatever. You just play the game for the game until you're done, and then you move on. You play it for your own enjoyment. It's very different than a lot of the other games that people really hyperfixate retention on. Like, people aren't hyperfixating on Clair Obscure Expedition 33's retention, or Baldur's Gate's retention, or Elden Ring's retention. I don't think this is fair to PoE2, PoE1, Last Epoch, Diablo 4. I don't think the retention problem there. I think it's kind of in that category of game where I don't think retention is a huge problem. It's cool to analyze, and I do it too in my videos all the time. I'm like, ooh, interesting. Look at this peak. Look at the player peak, and look at people who are playing. But I don't think it's like a big problem. I think another big thing is, especially with PoE. People know there will be another league in a couple months. So if they aren't enjoying themselves, will they bounce? They know they can come out. Maybe they'll like the next update in a couple months. They'll take a break, play some other games. I'm falling much more into the, play for, set amount of time. When I stop having fun, I stop having fun. I play other games, whatever. I don't feel like I need to keep playing. Interesting. This video boils down to not enough to do, if I remember correctly. I think that's where it's going. So I'm wondering if it's going to be kind of like an MMORPG sort of thing. I like that I can play for a few weeks to a month and move on. I love that as well. One of the biggest reasons I don't play Guild Wars 2 anymore, guys, is because the dailies and weekly, or not, they don't have weeklies. It's dailies for the Wizard's Vault, and the Wizard's Vault, like the seasonal passes and stuff, like... and the raid resets weekly where you get rewards if you do it. I'm too old for that. I'm too old. I have too many responsibilities to be like, I have to be on this day, this time, this week to do it, So I think retention is not a problem at all for GGG. They have said this much, Joe Polito. They make the most money on League Start for them. Okay, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm gonna pull this up just really fast. I'm going to finish watching this video. It's called GDC Designing PoE 1 to be Played Forever. One of the best video games talks ever. I'm not going to watch it right here, right now. This is one of the best talks ever. And in it, Chris Wilson just outlines exactly why they do what they do. They make the most money at League Start, the most excitement at League Start. People don't want to play for 3 to 4 months at a time from one league to the next. They want to take a break. They want to make I don't think he says this, but he basically says they want people to quit so that they're ready to come back. My wife's, she's my wife now. My wife's parents, when we were dating, when we were 12, 13, 14 years old, they always used to say, absence makes the heart grow fonder, And that's honestly, that's how I'm feeling right now. Like, I haven't played PoE 2 since early February, and it's been about 2 months. I'm getting the itch. I really want to play again. I want to dive into speculating about 0.5 and talk about what might be coming and my plans for that and who I'm going to interview and all that sort of stuff, right? So, okay, all right. Hung step, bro, you don't know what that means? Absent makes the heart grow fonder. Like, if you don't see each other, my girlfriend and I, when we were younger, right, we wanted to see each other every single day. We wanted to talk to each other on the phone every single day. And her parents were like, you guys need to chill out. All right. If you're like apart, if you're not always with each other, you'll love each other more. Well, we are married now. I don't think they were right though. Okay. Here we go. Back to it, baby.
Definitely fall into multiple categories depending on the league and the mood, and I'm sure you do too. My main concern with player retention really starts once you understand these categories of players. Probably I could have split category 4 a little bit better, but it doesn't matter for the point. When you have a game that is still incomplete and therefore lacks long-term in-game content, burnout becomes inevitable. And when you then add economy inflation on top of that, combined with the behavior of category 4 and category 5 players, you end up with leagues that realistically have a lifespan of about a month. There's a very good reason why Second Wind broke records, even though it launched only 3 weeks after the main league start. Yes, the official motivation behind Second Wind was economy inflation, but I genuinely believe that the majority of players who joined were already done with the league itself. They wanted a reset. They wanted to start fresh. They wanted to have fun again, ideally with a somewhat healthier economy. And that worked. For about 2 weeks. Here's the important part about Second Wind. If you're in category 4 or 5, you already know this. The economy was inflated, but it wasn't nearly as bad as people made it out to be. A Divine sitting at 250 or 300 exalts was actually the most stable we've seen it so far, especially compared to 0.2 and 0.3, where Divines were worth thousands of exalts within the first month of the league. Even after the temple nerfs, people were still printing Divines.
Okay, Scorpius is right on this. I think, okay? I don't think the inflation was as bad. Don't get me, don't pitchfork, as bad as a lot of people thought, including me, okay? I think it kind of stabilized. Like, of course, Divines, unless you were doing Temple, you're never going to get Divines. You couldn't farm for Divines. You had to farm for other things. But as long as you realize that, economy was actually fine, and you could earn divines to then buy other items by doing content that wasn't the temple. So you could farm abyss omens, you could literally do ritual, you could do expedition, you could do all this sort of stuff. But everybody liked to hyperfixate on, I'm not getting divines from maps. This is bad. Okay? Oh, right. It was stable because you had to pick between doing the temple, divines, and, you know, exceptional bases and all that, and T0 uniques, or mapping and doing, you know, hyperfixating on a league mechanic, right? And honestly, guys, in Second Wind, we also saw, you know, inflation. I don't think it was inflation. It was more so like scarcity. Like there was just a lot less stuff available, and the divine printer was still completely active. But he kind of got, he said primary motivation for Second Wind was the inflation. Kind of right. We also wanted to like make a really tight-knit community, like a really chill community of a couple thousand players. And then more and more and more and more people wanted to join. So it kind of blew up out of our control. Like we didn't expect that to happen at all. So exactly, Bloodlord. Funny thing is, everyone was focused on temples for divines, where I was doing ritual, making tons of divines. 100%. My brother was doing just abyss, printing stuff, right? Also, the problem is that normal exalts are so useless after the campaign. Yep. Silken Wind also had a new league start, and people love league start dopamine. Yes, they do. It was really fun. It was great. I got 2 characters to mid 90s this league. Like I had a blast. I also love the druid. Anyway, I think he is right on this point. W Scorpius.
And I'm not talking about already established temples. I'm talking about new ones. All you had to do was farm lower level maps, gather the crystals, and follow the same temple techs. Sure, it took more effort than the early Halton tech, but catching up was absolutely possible. And if you didn't want to play the temple at all, then you had multiple options. You can run the abyssal tech and print divines that way, farm rituals for omens as they were massively overpriced, do logbook farming, or even farm emotions and catalysts, which were insanely overpriced too.
Well, they weren't overpriced. It's just that people weren't doing them because everybody was hyperfixated on doing the temple for divines, so that there was a gap in the market.
Up to the economy was not easy, but it was definitely doable.
Oh my god.
Second Wind simply gave players the option to wipe the slate clean. And what happened? People rushed the temple again. They printed divines again, items became overpriced again, and the economy actually ended up worse because of the lower volume of items entering the market. Don't get me wrong though, league starts are insanely fun, and I had an absolute blast in Second Wind myself. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because everything we just talked about directly affects player retention. After a month and a half...
Okay, I need the big... Oh, shoot. I need that big moment. He's right. He's right there. What's the player retention problem? Okay. What is it?
Naturally burn out, not because they hate the game, but because there's nothing new to chase. Everything planned for a league is front loaded. Launch day hits, we get a new mechanic, maybe a big system overhaul, balance changes, quality of life updates, sometimes even a new class or ascendancy. For the first 2 weeks, GG is active, patches roll out, feedback is addressed, and then silence for 3 to 3.5 months. Some players get tired, feel behind, or feel affected by the economy, so they join a new private league, which also harms the main league's economy. They repeat the same content, and after 2 weeks, they either quit again or move to hardcore SSF or something completely different. Then
That's fine.
PO1 gets announced, a league or an event, and suddenly Category 1, the min-maxers, Category 4, the majority of players, and Category 5, the PO1 veterans, all leave for completely different reasons. Even though I'd personally love it, I don't think reducing the league cycles to 3 months is the solution here, at least not for now. Economy inflation is not the problem.
Even though I want the PoE2 patch now, I also don't think they should do 3-month patches if they're going to be juggling both games. But I feel like he's going to say that they need to intersperse content throughout. And if he says that, I totally disagree. Please don't do that.
As it will always happen. Exploits are not the problem, as they are pretty common in games like these. The 4-month cycle is not the problem at the moment, as it's needed for GG to test and prepare, and PoE1 is not the problem either, as it's the core game that everything is based on, and it's only getting better. With thousands of players, you cannot just shut down a working and a profitable game. Trying to cut off or fix any of those 4 is not going to help at all. The real issue is how engaging PoE2 is throughout the full 4 months, teams, how diverse the content actually feels, how active GG is with PoE2 during that time, and how often we get new or reworked content to test. And yes.
Okay. During early access. All right, here. I would love more activity from GGG, like talking to the community. Totally right. But they don't need to add new content. I would love to see like little tweaks, bug fixes and stuff, and maybe, a couple adjustments during early access. And I would love, of course, the content to feel diverse. Of course, I agree with that. But where's it going?
To test. And yes, with time, we will get there. But I don't believe that 0.5, 0.6, or even 1.0 will magically solve the problem with retention. PoE1 has existed for over a decade, and it still relies on mid-league events to keep players engaged. A simple solution would be introducing new content, features, changes, or improvements during the months between the leagues. Nothing game-breaking, nothing overwhelming. Just something meaningful enough to keep players excited month to month.
This would be amazing for my channel. Amazing content. I don't think that's a good idea. I think front loading it is the right idea. And this video that I talked about before, guys, they used to do this with Path of Exile 1. They used to do a ton of tiny patches and people did not return. Retention kept getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know where the actual graph is. I think this is it. Like they used to have like far more often content schedules. This is it right here. And the peaks would just get lower and lower and lower. And Chris explains that they've come to this model of having content every 3 months. The consistency is key. And that grows the player base. And that increases the retention. And that just makes the game better and better and better. The big thing is consistency. I think, if anything, what GGG just needs to do, they have this new plan, they have these two teams, they need to be consistent, and that would be the best thing they can do for both games and for all of us. It's not more patches. It's not anything like that. It's not making more frequent. I think it is just being consistent, which honestly, they're not even like being consistent. Like it's going to be almost half a year from 0.4 to 0.5. But once they get the consistency down, just being consistent is so important. I think that's what it is. It doesn't increase retention. It just grows player base, which is important. Okay. You are right. You are right. It grows the player base, which then increases the number of players who are like retained so that like the game remains alive longer for those who play. You're right. So okay, so he linked me this video, asked me to watch it, and I did exactly what I did when I first saw the title here. I was like, hey, have you watched this talk from Chris? He's like, no, I haven't. I was like, you should watch the talk from Chris, bro. I think he watched it after I linked it to him. Okay.
If this became a habit, especially during early access, players would naturally stick around longer. Private leagues might delay their launches and overall
okay, and I'm gonna according to the data, this isn't true either. Remember what happened when they were doing changes in 0.1, which I was a fan of, and these were like, fixes, nerfs to stuff. Plus players to riot. So I don't even know if that's true. Only additions, I don't think so. But definitely like just changes, they can cause people to bounce.
Engagement would improve. Here's a rough example. Based on recent interviews and comments from the devs, we already know that 0.5 will be massive. Endgame mapping changes, Atlas tree changes.
Scorpius misspelling endgame on purpose. So there are a bunch of comments that say, hey, you misspelled endgame. But yeah, 0.5 is going to be giga for endgame. Yeah, they've reiterated this multiple times.
Atlas map changes, a new mechanic, tablets and waystones likely affected, changes to citadels, pinnacle bosses, quality of life improvements, and a ton of balance updates. That alone makes it a game-changing league. Now, imagine that 1 month after the launch of 0.5, we get 2 new ascendancies or the trial.
No, I don't think that'd be a good idea. I'm sorry, I'll let you finish.
or any feature significant enough to get people excited again. If GOG finishes a major feature early, they could choose not to launch it immediately and instead spread it across the 4-month cycle. Another option is smaller focus.
No, I like the consistency of the big chunky update. And knowing, here I'm gonna, razor focus in. I'm gonna set aside time to play my favorite game. I'm gonna try what I'd like to try, and then I'm gonna take a break. And I'm thinking not as a content creator, I'm thinking as a player. As a content creator, you know how amazing that would be, guys? Juicy new Path of Exile 2 news just dropped. Oh, I'd be releasing those videos. But as a player, no. I don't think I'm in for that. No, I don't think I'd like that. For real, any game, that would kind of turn it into like a Fortnite-ish sort of thing where it's constantly churning, constantly having new stuff coming out. I am for the bug fixes and the minor balance tweaks, but not something like that.
Changes. For example, 1 month where rogue exiles are guaranteed in every single map, they're affected by abyss and wisps by default, and they're super juiced up with 100% effectiveness or more, making them harder and more rewarding. The next month,
so like Diablo 4 events. No, because it creates that like feeling of you gotta play during this specific time, or why don't you just wait for the XP boost weekend, right? Like, why are you playing Monday through Friday this week when you could just wait for Sunday and Saturday and you can get double XP? Like that happens in Guild Wars 2. That leaves a bad taste in my mouth as well. Like I get these solutions, but I feel like these ideas they're only based on increasing player retention in the game and not improving the actual game. I think everything he talked about earlier here, right here in this section, all these problems, all this content, that's good for the game. This thing he's talking about here is only good for player retention. Why does that matter? I guess that's one thing that hasn't yet been answered in this video. Why are less players playing as the league progresses bad for the game? Why? My brother would probably be like, well, this is the reason why. Try. But my mind is just, I think that's just the natural cycle for ARPGs. 2x mirror drop Friday night. Get out of here. Get out of here, Vince. No, get those ideas out of here.
On essences or rituals or any other mechanic that encourages players to change how they play or farm. This also gives GOG a chance to experiment with ideas that might never make it to a full league launch, to see what works and what doesn't. And the benefits hit every single category of players. Min-maxers have to adapt every single month. Hardcore players get new challenges and the need to stay alert. Casuals and new players get clearer feedback from introduced content and mechanics and feel more included. And category 4, the majority of players get more content, more excitement, and more reasons to stay invested throughout the league. But to be completely honest, I'm not even sure if GOG wants to maintain very high player retention in PoE 2 right now. It does feel like at times players are being encouraged to also try PoE 1, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. PoE 1...
Oh, he's so close! He's so close! He's so close to saying it. Yeah, I totally disagree. I totally disagree with the video.
An incredible game, and having 2 great ARPGs to cycle between is a good thing, not a bad thing. That said, we're also here because we believe in PoE 2. We're here to help shape what looks like it could be one of the best ARPGs in the near future, if it isn't already. And because of that, I think it's completely fair for players to want more consistent updates, more experimentation, more features added over time, more trial and error during early access, and most importantly, more activity throughout those 4-month cycles. Not because we're impatient, but because we're invested. So, I'm genuinely curious what you guys think. Do you agree with my take? And if you don't, let me know why. What do you think is the biggest problem PoE 2 has right now that isn't easy to fix? Open discussions are super healthy. We're talking about the same game. We all love that game.
Performance, visual clarity, screen clutter. These weren't mentioned. Dude, the comment build he's showing, I legit almost would wish GGG would just get rid of it from the game. I know this is going to farm a lot of L's. A lot of people are going to be pissed that I'm saying that. Just going to mute for a sec. I just can't, guys. Okay.
problem PoE2 has right now that isn't easy to fix. Open discussions are super healthy. We're talking about the same game. We all love that game.
Oh, you missed it? You missed it? You want to see it again? All right, we'll go to it again. Here you go. Look at this. There you go. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. I don't even think that's the most egregious one. Oh, they will? Bro, this stuff has been in the game for a while, though. I don't think they will.
That game. And I read everything, so drop your thoughts in the comments down below.
Okay.
And if this is the kind of content that you want to see more of, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to see you guys on the next one.
All right, Scorpius. I completely disagreed with the video, but it was a well-made video. It was well done. I'll just say CGDC. I'll leave a comment later, but I will leave a comment. Good video. Well made. I disagree with the conclusion and the problem. As someone who does point out problems with PoE2 and does whine, you know, I do disagree. I do disagree. I don't think player retention is a huge issue. I think it's something interesting to look at when when a league first launches. I like seeing the peaks compared to prior leagues and stuff like that. I always put that in my videos, but actually tracking it in an ARPG that is designed to burn you out, make you quit, you grind, you play a ton, you come back in 3 months, I don't think it's a big problem. And I don't want them to turn it into like an MMO with seasonal events and stuff like that, like Diablo 4 does. Sorry, Diablo 4. And the big content should all come out at the release. I think this, honestly, he opened the video with, I think, something very interesting. He has played almost 3,000 hours. That's more than I played in Path of Exile 1, and I've played since 2019. That's a long time, and that's a lot of time in a year. Like, I don't know. I think that he wants more people to play the game, essentially. I don't know. That's one of the things. What is the problem with the player retention? Like, that's one of the things. Why is that a problem? I get the problem, but why is, you know, the players dropping off a problem, I suppose. Maybe I'm just being stupid. All right, what do you guys think? Yeah, well done, but I think it's a minority take. I agree. Good video. That being said, please no more opinions, sir. No, Scorpius, he makes good videos. He also has a video called The 5 Biggest Problems PoE2 Players Are Facing, The Real Issues, and it was a follow-up video. Maybe we'll watch that a different time this week. Interesting. 4,200 hours here. Dang, he played 3K hours, so he must have fun playing this way. After 1K, I got used to it. Would prefer less cluster, but it's PoE. I don't think it'll go away. Probably not. 4,200 hours here. Moon Man. Holy crap, brother. What? Because everyone is watching all the content revealed from streams, and then there are no longer any surprises. It's just the day and age we live in. I love the surprises, Crypto Ghost. I wish they wouldn't reveal as much on reveal day. I wish the reveals would be 15 minutes on just highlights of everything. Just a little deeper than the trailer, and then just let us go wild. I also don't think they should release the passive skill tree before people get in game, or all the little cool items and skill gems and stuff. And I know that is also a take that'll get me tarred and feathered by my fellow content creators and a lot of you guys, but it is mine. Super high player retention is very good in the short run, terrible in the long run for GGG. They probably have an internal ban they want to keep the retention in. Probably true. I think that they weren't pleased with keepers. And honestly, Hung Step, bro, I don't know if they'll be pleased with Mirage either. I'm kind of shocked. I think it's mostly server issues, though. I think server issues for Mirage are actually insane and affecting the number of people that are playing and staying in the league. I think it's actually pretty big. I want the skill tree, but items should be hidden. I just want more content. Well, I think we're going to get more content in 0.5. Yeah, it's 0.5 is going to be pretty giga. Pretty giga. Theory crafting is fun. No, I know people. That's a minority opinion of mine. Yeah, I know, because people also catch balance issues that GGG put out and everything. So, all right, that was fun. All right, guys. I think next up we're gonna actually do some gaming. Okay, you guys are gonna see how bad I am at No Rest for the Wicked. All right. So this is the PoE2 cut. Feel free to.